finished with that.
We can wait a couple minutes for Mary
Sorry, I
Ann.
didn't answer you, but I didn't know my name.
Yeah, I know. I just found that out yesterday.
What can I say? You know, kind of, it's to the point right now. I'm saying to Phil, did such and such and such and such happen? And he looks at me and goes,
Yeah, that's not good.
because fever induced.
From your bags.
Yeah.
See, they say that's what caused my virus, but it wasn't bad until I got that vaccine.
Well, you know, they're saying to me, yeah, you have probably built up enough antibodies
Yes.
that you probably never really need to take any
Yeah,
more of these.
yeah. You should be good.
But at my age, are you kidding me? Do I take a chance? No. Oh,
Nice, love it.
did she show you the WVU when she made me?
She did not.
And she made
Mary
Phil.
Ann, how are
She
you?
made Phil a Yankee.
Did
fan.
she? Hi, how are you?
Everyone, here we are again.
Yes.
Already.
I think we're live, so once Mary Ann gets settled, whenever you're ready. Hopefully it's brief today.
Okay, today is the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see it.
Prototype.
It's sideways. It's
See,
1
I'm so
o'clock.
used to looking behind me, 4 o'clock. Okay,
When I sit at that seat, I can see the clock.
good job. Let's call this meeting
get
to
it
order
back.
of the City of Frostburg Board of Elections. It is 1 p.m. on Tuesday, October the 10th. All members are present, and we'll move on to new business. Liz, do you want to?
Sure. So after the last election, there was a few things, during the process and following when the votes were being counted that were mostly procedural but recommended changes. So I worked with the city attorney based on my notes from the last election to draft potential changes to both the charter and the city code.
Okay.
So I'll just go over those individually with you. There's 2 separate charter amendments. The way state law is now is you have to do a separate charter amendment per topic. So even though they're both related to elections, there's 2 separate charter amendments. The first is for section 604, which is the date of the elections. Interestingly enough, the elections have always been held on even years, but for whatever reason in the code it said on the first Tuesday in June 2005 and every 2 years thereafter. There was a change, around that time frame, there was a change in government and the election interval, but then that got overturned by referendum. So I think this is a legacy that didn't get cleaned up.
I think what happened is they had to reverse it in the next year. So they made the change in the charter to take care of that one particular election, and it should have either been codified that it was just for that one election or changed back.
Okay. So it changes that language to just, it's every year that ends in an even number. So that little section that's indented is the only section that's the change. Everything else is just procedural. The next one for section 605, one of the things that happened in 2022 is the ballots were mailed out 35 to 30 days in advance, or 25 to 35 days in advance of the election. But the ballot delivery box, the way the code was written, was only there 14 days prior to the election.
Mhm.
And we said the ballot delivery box should be there as soon as people start getting their ballots.
Okay.
So this just changes that to be from 14 days to 35 days. So the ballot delivery box will be open probably before people receive their ballots, but there won't be any period of time that the ballot delivery box would not be available.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Nope. Okay. And then the ordinance changes aspects of city code. I don't, let me pull up the marked up version on my laptop here so I can make sure I cover them all with you. Sorry, I didn't. Okay, so we'll start with page 2, section 3.3. Section C1. In the past, it said that the certificate of candidacy and financial disclosure shall be filed no later than 50 days prior to the date of the election.
Mhm.
But then the ballots were to be mailed 35 days. So that gave me and it gave us 15 days for me to collect everything, to hold a board, to then hold an ethics meeting for everyone to review the candidacy filing forms. And then we had to have an elections board meeting, and then I had to work with the printer to get the ballot prepared. So that was a very short window. So what this does is it adds a few more weeks to that timeline by just picking the date of March 20th.
Okay. Just a quick question. Okay. It goes on to handle it. Thank you. I read further.
Yes. And we discussed using a number of days or the actual date, but using the actual date saves me from doing all the calendar math. So
Okay.
Okay. Another one.
Just a little typo for the heck of it.
Oh, okay.
Second to last sentence in C1A, a D hanging out there by itself.
Oh,
That's
in
for-
subsection D, but it should have
Okay.
a period behind it.
Yeah.
Okay. Section C2, write-in candidates.
And provided for in subsection D. Okay. But we didn't use anything else to go. Okay, I'm fine.
Write-in candidates are not allowed.
So in the past, we've had write-in candidates, but no one's actually filed
Yeah.
as a write-in candidate. What has happened because of write-in candidates is people have disqualified their ballot because they write Santa Claus would be a better candidate than so-and-so, and then that becomes a personally identifying and the ballots are disqualified. We look to other jurisdictions. There's several jurisdictions in Maryland that do not allow write-in candidates. It's my recommendation that our filing date is so close to the actual election. It doesn't matter to me, but it would be, the filing date is so close to the actual election and to meet all of the candidacy requirements. And then because of the timing of the mail-in ballot, you'd have to be a write-in candidate 35 days in advance to have the opportunity for all the votes. That's up to you, but that was a recommendation discussed with Michael Cohen and myself. We can put it back. It used to read, a person who seeks election as a write-in candidate shall satisfy the requirements of these sections no later than 25 days prior to the date of election.
Which then holds you off from printing and doing everything else.
Well, it doesn't hold off from printing, but if ballots are being mailed 35 days in advance, people are casting their ballots before a candidate even announces that they're a write-in candidate. So you could change that to 35 days. But, I mean, that's up to you.
Which jurisdictions have you found that, I mean, not that you need to list them all, I'm just sort of curious. Like, how many other jurisdictions do this? Are we gonna look like a non-democratic outlier here, or is this fairly common? It's not.
Gaithersburg does not allow them.
Okay. I just wanted to get an idea of,
It basically, as long as we would lock in the time frame, has no effect on us.
what do you mean?
It would not interfere with the process at all.
For
If
us,
someone
no.
found, yes,
But I'm just,
for the public not to have it when the state of Maryland has it. You know,
Well,
there
that's-
are write-in candidates,
yeah. I mean, it just,
and there
this is the
if,
first time I'm hearing this.
also if
And my initial reaction is this going to seem like we're restricting things too much for our convenience?
And your recommendation can be to change it to how the language was and just change the filing date to 35 days so that you can at least ensure
Yeah.
that ballots aren't cast before.
well, the other thing too, with the ballot not counting, I would beg to differ with Michael a little bit on that. That office wouldn't count, not
Mhm.
necessarily.
Not the whole ballot. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I
You know
misspoke
what?
for that. Yes.
Well, that's fair enough if they're not voting for an actual person.
You know, I mean, up
Mhm.
I
to
mean, we
this
didn't
point.
disqualify people who voted
No.
for the council election if they were putting,
You know, the
Joke.
other thing being is, as long as they were a filed write-in candidate, you would count it.
Mhm.
So
right,
if someone wages, previously I have seen some fairly successful write-in attempts here in Frostburg.
yeah,
Fairly successful to the extent that a write-in candidate usually does not have too much of a success.
right.
But when you're having a turnout of possibly 35 to 40 votes, you can see where a write-in candidate has the ability. Now we've made that field much larger, so their requirement would be much stricter. It's going to be harder for a write-in candidate. But I think my vote would be let it there.
Change it to 35 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Just
mean,
because
that's-
I'm more comfortable with that. To eliminate
I am
anything in
too.
an election that doesn't go along with state
Okay.
Okay,
code, you know, I mean, it doesn't cause us any additional worry other than the time frame.
Right.
So,
is that, Liz, what do you think?
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
It would also help us in the unfortunate event if someone died.
Yes.
I didn't want to say that, but we had that happen.
Oh,
So, you know, sometimes if someone dies, you have no candidate,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
especially when you're running a nonpartisan election.
yeah,
This would solve that issue.
yeah.
If they died in that 30 days.
Oh, you never know. You never
Stranger
know.
things have happened.
Now that to me, what you're suggesting sounds fair, and it also doesn't. To me, not allowing write-in candidates almost restricts the democratic process.
Okay.
But
No harm, no foul.
I can make that change. Okay, ballots and voting, section 2. I will read to you how it used to read, and then you guys can review the old or the new. Registered voters who did not receive or lost a ballot may apply for a replacement ballot before issuing no later than 7 days prior to the election. Before issuing a replacement ballot, the city administrator or his/her designee shall ensure the applicants are registered to vote. So it now reads, registrars who did not receive or lost a ballot whose ballot was destroyed or otherwise rendered unusable for any reason may obtain a replacement ballot at City Hall upon the execution of an affidavit certifying the reason why the ballot is required.
The only other thing that I think Maryland law, and I'd have to have enough time to look it up, it puts a restriction on how many ballots they can get.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, okay, you can receive up to 2 or 3 ballots or something like that, but I'd have to go review it. But I think it restricts how many ballots you may be issued just because of the fact the more ballots floating around out there, lost, is it really?
Right.
You know, I mean,
Right.
so when you're canvassing the ballots, it restricts you then, because if you've gotten 3 ballots
That's,
and we're trying to count,
right.
there could be 3 ballots show up from someone else. So at least by restricting how many you issued, it contains it to something that's manageable when you're doing a
Okay.
canvass.
Thank you for your years of experience that have taught you all the crazy things that can happen during an election.
It does remove the 7-day provision. That was a recommendation. It used to say you had to request it 7 days prior to the election. It removes the date. You could request it up to the day of the election. And that was a recommendation from Diane.
I was just going to say I agree with that, but now I know
Okay.
why.
Looking for that state law reference, Kitty.
It could be under, not under Article 33, but under Title 33.
They changed all the titles now, and it's
Oh,
just
well,
the
there
election.
you go.
It's just election, so
It's not, it's kind of like here. It's the red book, not the black. And that could have changed. I'm just saying I haven't looked for a while.
okay, I can look that up later.
Yeah.
If there is something that limits it, we can. Is it
If
okay
there's a
bring it
sentence,
to
we
add
can
that?
just, why reinvent it? Use the same sentence.
Okay, and then the last change. Well, there's 2 changes. Okay.
Okay.
D7, the words shall be were added. So ballots shall be preserved by the city administrator for 22 months after the day election, and shall then be destroyed. That shall be at the end didn't used to be there. And then lastly, F is a new addition. Multiple ballots. If the city receives multiple ballots from the same voter, the first ballot received will be the only ballot counted.
Oops, I changed my mind.
Back up to 7, please. Just a thought. Just saying the ballot shall be preserved for 22 months. If for some reason you were audited by some entity or something. Just to have that ballot without the required documentation that goes along with it, such as the ballot envelope that has the signed oath.
Okay.
You know, it would be to your advantage to be able to eliminate all of that, but I'm sure, you know, some type of election documentation or whatever. But that envelope contains the oath by that voter, so you should have X number of oaths to match up with X number of
Okay.
ballots or be able to reconcile the difference. So I think we need to expand the word ballots to,
Okay. Ballots, ballot envelopes, and oath of voter.
well, the oath of voters on the envelope,
Okay,
isn't
so
it?
maybe, well, there's two envelopes. There's the envelope that was returned in, and then the oath of voter envelope is inside of that.
Okay, I don't think your envelope that it was returned in,
You need to keep.
I can't see that coming into question. The only thing being would be timely fashion, but we don't timestamp all of them. So we couldn't prove timely fashion anyway.
So just the oath of the voter then?
I think.
Okay, that makes sense. And then everything else, like the real meat is saved forever. So I think I forget what our retention
Just because
policy.
I think,
We'll send
I'll
it to
get rid of that.
archives one day.
well, that's what, and then possibly maybe be able to retrieve it.
Where are the city archives, just as?
Baltimore, oh, yeah,
The
Kentucky
state,
State.
yeah, it's
Oh,
the
they
state.
keep, the state,
The state
Our house
maintains.
in Baltimore.
okay.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole other
I'm
thing.
sure it is. I
The
don't,
city of Frostburg has not used it in the past. We were making efforts to use it. I still have resolution and meeting minutes that are 100+ years old.
oh my goodness.
I did use it, and basically they will send a truck, so we would piggyback Western Maryland.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
because then you could share in the expense,
Yeah.
because it is an expense.
to be sure there even is an archivist in office to
Okay.
take the stuff.
They have a whole staff.
Okay.
Okay,
Is there any questions that you have for me?
don't know whether to bring this up or not, but we were talking about handicapped accessibility.
Yes.
Got a few views, if you want to share yours first, please.
So right now, the directions that go out with the ballot I have it. Okay. There's nothing on the directions. But on the oath of voter envelope, it says this oath must be signed. If it is not signed, the ballot will not be counted. If you have a disability or are not able to read or write, someone can help you mark your ballot and sign and date as the assistant.
That's all you need as far as I can tell. And my other, the solution for the state, one is that all polling places should be handicapped accessible. Well, if you're doing a mail-in ballot, there's no issue of handicapped accessibility. The other thing is, one of the solutions is to mail the voter a ballot. So in essence, we're handicapped accessible to every voter that we're mailing that ballot to. So I cannot see where anyone would question or doubt, and I think the precedent's out there because the fact that we're mailing ballots is what they would use to fix the problem if your polling place were not accessible, or if you could not get there. You have free access to a mail-in ballot other than the way it used to be, and you had to have a reason.
And I did do some research and then spoke with Michael about this. The alternative to make it as accessible as we possibly could would be to have a polling place open on election day, where you have the ideal is that you have a assisted assisting a computer that helps a visually impaired person mark a ballot without assistance so that they can vote truly anonymously. However, that is a machine that then prints on a ballot. And then that ballot will be different than all of our other ballots,
Exactly.
which means we would have to go to
Yes.
we'd have to rent all of the state equipment so that the ballots cast by visually impaired persons were not able to be differentiated from all of the other ballots.
Okay.
So, so to have that machine, and I spoke to Diane at the county, her machines will still be in lockdown following the primary, so using the county machines is not an option, plus the expense of renting the election day machines and paying the judges and paying everything. It's an extraordinary expense to take it like the final step. And
I have been in many courts about this type of situation, and the judge usually rules as long as a reasonable, underlying reasonable effort has been made to accommodate. The only other thing that I could think of is, and there again, you're singling out this one person that may ask for this, and that's to be able to provide a ballot in large type. But then again,
right.
if you only have one, you know exactly how that. So you've done the wrong thing.
Yeah.
You've really shone the light on them as opposed to not. I truthfully feel we've done everything that we can do.
Yeah, so that's my recommendation right now. Everyone, we've had generally positive feedback on the mail-in ballots. There's a much higher voter rate with the mail-in ballots.
Which is our purpose.
Yeah. And there has been no complaint in regards to accessibility. So,
We tried being open on election day, remember?
Twice. Once.
No one.
No one. So, yeah, in 2020, there was...
No one. So I think we're good. I think we've got it all covered. If there is an organization or an individual out there who has issues and wants to discuss them,
Yeah.
I think we can come up with a solution for them. And it's not like there has to be a balance of party or anything, because it's not there.
Yeah, it's not partisan.
So these are going to go in front of,
Yeah, these will be presented to the council at their meeting on Thursday. The processes are different for both. So the charter amendments will likely get adopted next Thursday at the regular council meeting. And then there's required weekly advertisements in the paper for 4 consecutive weeks. And then after, I think it's after 50 days, the charter amendments go into effect, assuming that there is no petition to referendum. These are very minor, just procedural things. So I don't expect any issue there. On the ordinance side of things, this will be introduced to the mayor and council we'll discuss it at the work session. It will be introduced at their council meeting next week. The public hearing will be scheduled for November, and then it would go in effect. The public hearing and the vote would be at the November council meeting, and it would go into effect 20 days later. But doing this in the October meeting gets everything cleaned up before the end of the year, and then come January, we can call the first Board of Elections meeting and get started.
Wow.
And here we are.
we just leave.
I know, weren't we just here counting ballots? So, well, thank you all for taking time today to meet and your feedback.
Sure,
That's-
and thank you for everything that you do to keep the city going.
For sure.
Would you like to
Like I say, thank you, Kitty, for your expertise.
Just hope
motion to adjourn, Kitty?
it's much easier. I mean, we've come a long way. We're all getting comfortable with it. And I think the city is also, the voters, I think they're comfortable with that, and I think they appreciate the effort.
I've come a long way.
Haven't we all? Haven't we all?
Oh my. Okay. Would you do a motion to adjourn?
I do, and possibly table scheduling the next meeting till after the first of the year. All in
Okay.
favor?